and unmute you so we can interact easier. My name is Darla Kuntz, and I am with the Learning and Development Department here at MPAY. Today's training is on calendar rebuilds. I'm having a few technical difficulties with GoToTraining and my version of PowerPoint. One moment here. Give me just a moment, and I'm going to change the way I'm presenting this so that you can see it. I know it's actually not going to be in slide presentation. Again, I do apologize. My version of PowerPoint and GoToTraining have some issues at times. So I want to make sure at this point that everyone can see the presentation. So if there is anyone who cannot see it, will you just let me know in the chat panel real quick? Okay, then we'll go ahead and get started. Okay. The training today is APA approved, so you will receive RCH certificate that will be emailed to you within 45 days. Again, it is an interactive training, so participation is expected. You may be called upon. And if you have any questions, please use the chat panel until I unmute you. The objectives of today's training is really just to walk through the process of building a calendar using the wizard and understanding the function of payroll groups. We're also going to talk about multiple batches within one check date, and then we're going to apply the knowledge that we learned today and do some group exercises. Now, some of the things that you want to think about prior to even creating your calendar schedule is that, and this is whether you're using the wizard or you're not using the wizard, you want to set up a manual check date in the system. And you want to change that check date as your set check date in the system. So the reason you want to set up a manual one is so that you can direct the system to build the calendar correct going forward. So we always recommend just set one up. If I were, for instance, going to build a check date effective January 25th, I may put a check date out there if it's a weekly payroll of January 12th, or I may just do January 1st to make it easier for me, so I make sure that it builds my calendar going forward the correct way I want it to. If there are any extra check dates when I get done and I've reviewed my calendar, I'll just remove them at that time. Now, I am aware of the fact that some individuals do not have access to delete check dates in the calendar, and in that event, you would want to contact your manager or an individual who has access to be able to remove calendar check dates. One of the other things that you're going to need to be very conscious of is when a client is changing a pay frequency. So if they currently are weekly and they're going to change to a biweekly frequency, you will have to change the company pay frequency default and also update the employee rates and reviews pay frequency. You'll want to make sure that you do that, because if you do not, then the employee is going to be taxed incorrectly, and it could impact them at the end of the year when they file their personal return. Now, at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Millennium. So you can refer to your presentation that you should have printed, but we're going to work primarily in Millennium. We're going to walk through setting up a calendar using the wizard, and then we're going to walk through adding an additional pay frequency to that calendar, and then we'll actually go through some group exercises together. Give me one moment while I switch out here. Okay. At this point, everyone should be able to see Millennium, the company that I'm in, and we're going to go ahead and walk through setting up a calendar with the wizard. So the first thing that you want to make sure that you do, again, remember I said that you want to make sure in a situation where a client is changing their frequency, this company is currently set to a default, company default of weekly. We're going to go ahead and just build a weekly. You'll want to use your asterisk, and then at this point, when you do that, it's going to pop up the option for you to be able to use the wizard. We'll go ahead and follow the steps, so you'll click Next, and then you're going to select the frequency. So we'll go ahead and set up a weekly frequency, and we'll go ahead and let it process. We can select our days here. We'll process 3 days, 2 days out. And then our first check date, in this situation, we're going to make our first check date 2/14. And the start date for that 2/14, we'll go ahead and make it 1/27. Okay? In this situation, you can see that we currently have a check date set out here to 2/1. I had already set up a manual check date out here to build going forward. I'm not going to use that as my template. I want to create a default. And then I'll go ahead and click my Next button. And then I'll finish. Now what that did is it created my label for me. It has a start date of 4/18, and the reason it has a start date down here, let's change this here to 2/1. Okay. It also put my batch out here for a weekly. It created it the way that I told the system to. And it's got a start date of 2/14 here. I'm going to just make this 2/1 as well. It also created a move for me. It created a payroll group with active in it for me as well. So when you use the wizard, it builds everything that you need automatically out there. Now you'll see as we add one manually that it will not build any of that. So you'll have to go to each step. You'll have to put a payroll group out here. You'll have to go out to the details, and you'll have to create a label, a batch, excuse me. You'll have to make sure that you assign a payroll group to the checks. And we'll walk through that in just a moment. Now at this point, we'll go ahead and hit Rebuild. Now this calendar is already built. Let me cancel here. So look at my check date I have out here and just make sure I'm on 2/1, which I'm not. All right. So you saw when I built my when I used the wizard, it created a 4/18. It was looking at the current check date I had set in the system to 4/18 to build that start point from, and you saw where I changed it right here to 2/1. So I had not set my check date to a 2/1 to tell the system to build from that date going forward to use as a default. All right, so we're going to rebuild the calendar here. Now, once you click the rebuild, you'll notice in here that it will tell you the following check dates are not in a scheduled state and will be left as is. So any check date that is in an open state will not be rebuilt. I want to be very clear on that because I know sometimes people get a little, they're a little apprehensive when they see it in an open state that it's going to wipe out that data. It will not wipe it out. It will not touch that information. However, I do want to point out that you should make your client aware of the fact that you are rebuilding their calendar and to stay out of their payroll if they're using a remote site like Pay Entry or PC Input, because what you do not want to happen is they go out there, they start working in that payroll, they're entering data, and you're rebuilding their calendar at the same time, and you wipe out because on our end it's in a scheduled state, but on Pay Entry it's in an open state. so you wipe out that information they've put in. So I caution people and want to be very clear that make sure you're communicating to your client not to be in the payroll when you're actually in there rebuilding their calendar for them. And then I'm just going to select the yes here and click OK. Now it's going to pop up a box that tells me the job's been submitted. So I can do one of two things. I can come out here into my job queue, and I can look and click on my done and see that it's telling me that there's a warning out here. And all it's really telling me in this warning is, hey, I'm not going to delete these checks because they are not in a scheduled state. Remember, they have to be in a scheduled state. Any other state, it's not going to rebuild them. And that's fine. I'm aware of that. So these are all open. Now let's go to the company and then review the calendar. So I always come out here once the calendar has been rebuilt, and I make sure it looks the way that I need for it to look. So I was creating the 2/14 with a 1/27 and a begin date of 1/27, so it did rebuild it for me. I also always make sure that at the company level in my move that I have created, oops, sorry about that, the move out here that was created, I do make sure that works correctly. What I mean by that is when I'm reviewing my calendar, I am looking for a situation that in this situation, their check date's on a Friday. So I'm going to try to look for a holiday, or I guess I should say a non-business day in this situation, that would move that to the previous day. So I want to make sure that it handled that like it should have handled it. And if you look right here, July 4th is on a Friday. That's a non-business. It's a holiday in our system. So it did move it to July 3rd, which is exactly what I wanted to happen. I also make sure that all my check dates are correct as far as I built from the 14th. So my next one, it is weekly, should be the 21st. Then I should have a 28th. I look at my next 3, 4, 5 check dates just to make sure they are in order. Now, at this point, I'd like to walk you through the process of adding one manually. Before we do that, are there any questions about using the wizard? Okay. All right. So let's just add to this a little bit and say that the client contacts you and they have now informed you that they'd like to have a biweekly payroll out here as well. And in the biweekly, they're going to only pay certain employees. They'll leave certain employees in the weekly batch. On the calendar schedule here, you do not need to create another schedule. You simply need to create another batch for them. So we're going to manually add the batch out here. So let's go ahead and click the Add button. And this is a biweekly. It's a biweekly batch. Now this is going to occur every 2 weeks. It's going to be on Friday. And we'll go ahead and have it, we'll follow the weekly here with the begin on Monday and on Sunday. All right. So we'll have this begin on the Monday 2 weeks before, and we'll have it end on the, let's do Sunday here. Sunday. So it's going to begin on Monday 2 weeks before. It's going to end on Sunday the week of. Now, since we are creating another batch out here that we're going to move some employees into who are no longer going to be weekly, they're going to move to a biweekly frequency, we will need to make sure that we add a payroll group that defines what employees belong in what batch. So I'm going to go out here to my payroll groups, and I am going to add one called W for weekly, and then I'm going to add another one called BW for biweekly. Now I'm going to take and I am going to go copy the SQL statement that I'm going to use out of another company, so give me just a moment. I can just type it in real quick. All right, so this is going to be my biweekly. And, oops, okay. All right, and now I'm going to go add my weekly. And now I'll just copy this. Okay, so now I have my two payroll groups I've added additionally to define what employees are going to be in what batch. Now I need to go assign my employees. So let's go out here and we'll just pick a couple, and we will now move a couple of them to biweekly. All right. And you can see on their status and position, they have no current payroll group assigned to them, not even inactive right now. So let's go into the calendar and payroll groups. And if I click on my biweekly and I reapply my filters, I now see that the 4 people that I just assigned a biweekly frequency to now are in the biweekly batch. The same with my weekly. If I hit, oops, hold on. Let's change this to weekly. Okay, and let's reapply the filters. And now I have the rest of the employees who are actually in the weekly, that will be a part of the weekly batch. Let's go back to our schedule and in our details, and let's take a look at our checks. So you can see that our weekly checks are tied to active right now, and our biweekly are tied to nothing. If I were to leave this like this, everybody's going to show up that's marked as active in the weekly batch. I am going to add my filter here and select my payroll group weekly. And in my biweekly, I'm going to select my biweekly. I'm going to remove active out of here. I don't really need active. They will either be a part of a weekly or a biweekly. Now, every time you add a new employee in the system, they automatically will be assigned to a group based on the frequency that you give them. And we're not going to do anything with our move. We'll just leave our move alone. Now at this point, we should be good to rebuild our calendar. So let's go, oops, one more thing. Let me check one more thing here. See when I have the biweekly starting. Okay, my biweekly that I created, I need to make sure that I'm going to start that to 1 as well. All right, let's go back and rebuild. Again, it's showing me the check dates. It's not going to rebuild because they are in an open state. Let's go out to our job queue. Again, it's just showing me the 3 that are not in a scheduled state. They're in open. And let's go out to our calendar and take a look at it. So now in our 214, we have our weekly and our biweekly. Our 221 just has our weekly. Our 228 has our biweekly, so you can see that it built it correctly the way that we anticipated it would. Now, one thing I do want to point out is that if it doesn't build it correctly for you, just go back and try again. One of the best ways you learn is by doing, and you're not going to hurt anything to keep rebuilding it until you get it right. All right, at this point, do we have any questions before I move forward with some of the exercises? No questions from anybody? Okay, just give me a moment here while I delete some of this information in here. One of the things I do want to make a point to say is that you can use, when you're writing those SQL statements, you can use anything from the e-info table to pull off of, to actually have, to assign your groups out. All right. Since I'm going to make this interactive and class participation, I'm going to, give me just a moment, I'm going to unmute everybody. I do ask that you keep your phones on mute, but I am going to unmute you so that you will be able to talk and the group will be able to hear you. So if you have any questions now, you can go ahead and ask me those before we move on to the exercises.
Hi, Darla. This is Joe.
Hey, Joe.
Hi. I was just wondering, when you were in the section a moment ago and you were putting in the weekly and biweekly filters, would it be advantageous in any way to leave the active or add the active to the biweekly? I know the system only starts paychecks for people who are active, but I didn't know, since you're dealing with SQL and things, if it was better to have the multiple filter thing instead of just the weekly people or the biweekly people.
In here, when I was assigning the group to the checks, you can leave them in there, but I personally always remove the active, because when you are, an employee should be assigned one or the other, either weekly or biweekly. And so when you're, I just always leave it that way, and then when my batches are created and I'm actually in my batches, I'm only going to get the employees with a check in there. I'm not going to get the employees who don't belong there without a check. Does that make sense?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, so I typically, that's what I do. I typically remove it because they're going to be one or the other.
I didn't know if there were any advantages to leaving active as a secondary filter.
You know, I can't think of any advantages for it. It's not really going to hurt anything if you do.
That was my only question.
Thank you. Okay. Well, everybody should have their presentation in front of them, so we're going to go ahead and look at the exercises that I put out there for everyone. So at this point, what I'd like to do is ask if we have any volunteers. I'd rather go that direction first. So is anybody feeling brave and really knowledgeable about calendar rebuilds? Any takers? Anybody want to try?
I piped up last time. I guess I'll jump in this time.
You did. You did. Well, I can call on somebody else if you want me to. I can do that. It's your call. You want me to try to see if I can get somebody else to do it? We have plenty of MPAY employees on here, so I can call on one of them.
Fair enough.
Okay, let's do that. All right. Now, Joe, did you tell me that most of the employees there are they don't have do they have headsets? Are they available to interact? Were you saying they're not?
Yeah,
okay.
most of the people here are using straight headphones. They don't have headphones with microphones. I actually went ahead and called in on my phone.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. So let me just select somebody here. We have any volunteers from Huntersville?
Hey, Darla, it's Elaine. I'll volunteer.
Hello.
Hi, Darla.
How are you?
Good, thanks. Hi, everybody. Okay, so which one are we working on, ma'am?
We are going to do the very first one, but before we do that, let me just delete these, okay? Let me delete my schedule out here. And let me delete my groups. Let me get it all wiped out. Okay, all righty. So we should be good to go now. All right, so we're going to look at our first exercise, which we are going to use the wizard in this one. And we're going to create a weekly calendar based off the following information. So we're going to create a weekly, Elaine, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give you keyboard and mouse control, okay?
Oh, super. Okay, thank you. Okay.
Okay, so you should have it now.
Oh, perfect, and I do. Okay, so the calendar schedule, excuse me, by the way. Let's see, creating a weekly schedule.
We're going to create a weekly, so we're going to use the wizard. And as you do it, Elaine, I may just be talking about what you're doing.
Go right ahead. Let's see here. Okay, we want a weekly frequency.
We want a weekly frequency.
And surely we don't want 8 days to process a payroll. Can we just go with 2, or should we do 3?
No, 2 or 3 is fine, whichever you prefer.
Okay. And
I do want to make a point. I'm going to make a little note here while Elaine's doing that. Sometimes you'll have a client. We've experienced clients who you will build at 2 days, or you may build at 3, and they want it the other way. You can come in here and just fix that actual date and rebuild your calendar, and it'll change just the date that they're going to process on for you. So that is something you can do. You don't have to rebuild their whole calendar if they just want to change their process date by a day or 2. Sorry about that, Elaine. Go ahead.
No worries.
All right, so your first check date is 4/4.
Yeah, we chose April 4 for our first check date. Our first pay period start date is March 24th, and we've chosen that, so next. And then use existing calendar. We want to create default batches.
Correct. We're going to create default.
Yep. And we'll do next. And then, hooray, we'll do finish.
Perfect. And so in this, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. No, please go. You go right ahead.
In this situation, let's just walk through and see if the system actually added anything in the details. Let's see, did it create a payroll group for you?
Okay. And it did. It created active.
Yep. Perfect. And it gave us our typical non-business day move, correct?
It did, I believe. Yeah, it created non-business day. Yes, ma'am.
And I do want to make a point here at this section here. You may have a client sometimes that they want the non-business day to be previous, but they may say to you, if it falls, like let's say you're building a semi-monthly and you're building a 1st and 15th, they may say, if that falls on a Saturday, we want you to move to Friday. If that falls on Sunday, we want you to move to Monday. You can create additional labels out here, and you just define them that way. So you can have multiple labels that tell you different scenarios based on whether or not it falls on a Saturday, Sunday, or if it falls on a holiday. I just want to make a point that you can have different labels here. Okay, so you've got your batch.
Yeah, we've got that there. So now we are ready to, I believe, rebuild our calendar.
Okay.
And, oh gosh, you know, I will admit to being one of those ones where I see all the open check dates. I do panic. So, but that's why I'm here today. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and type yes in here and then hit OK. And it's been submitted.
Okay.
And now if we were to go look at the calendar, theoretically we should see some check dates. And yep. I think we do.
And we should be able to go to like our April, because that's our first one, April 4th, right?
Yeah, that's the one.
And now we can see we've got April 4th. We have the 11th, the 18th, like we would anticipate that we would have weekly. We should have, if we go in here, we should be able to scroll down and see we have July.
Oh, right.
You scroll down a little bit?
Of course.
There you go.
3rd.
So you can see that moved like you would expect it to. Very good. Thank you, Elaine.
You're very welcome. Thank you, darling.
I'm going to take control back. One of the things I definitely want to stress with people, too, is to think about your void manuals. And what I mean by that is I'm going to show you a scenario here where we have a check date set out here. I'm going to set a check date for a 4/18. And I'm going to go out here and I'm going to void out an employee's some pay information into that batch. So let's just go void out this bonus. Okay. Now, remember, I have a check date set out here of, right now it's on 4/18. If I move this back now to my 2/1, something I want you to be conscious of is when you're out here and you're setting your check date, you've created your manual check date and you're setting it. Since you're in here setting that check date anyhow, take a look at some future check dates and see if you have any VM batches out here. Because when we rebuild this calendar, this is not in an open state right now. It's in a scheduled state, that calendar is. Let me go show you. You can see 4/18 is in a scheduled state. There's a void manual batch in there. When this calendar gets rebuilt, here in a minute, you're going to see it's going to wipe out that VM. So just be conscious of it. Typically, you're not going to see a VM batch that far ahead, but you may have a situation where you're rebuilding a calendar and you're rebuilding it for the next check date, and there's a VM batch in there, and it is not opened. That payroll is not opened yet. Be conscious of the fact that it's going to wipe out the void manual. So you'll want to make sure you go take a look at what that void manual consists of and get it documented or whatever and take it out of there and move it to a different one. But just be conscious of looking at that. Again, when you're in your snapshot here, you can see that void manual pretty quick. You can pick it up. All right. Well, let's move on to our next exercise, which is going to be adding a semi-monthly pay frequency based off the following information. So we're going to go add a semi-monthly here. Do I have any volunteers for that? How about someone else from Huntersville? How about, are you guys all in a class together, or are you individually on the call?
Individually.
Let's go. Individually? Okay. How about Latasha? Latasha, you want to try it?
Sure. It's just activity 2.
It is activity 2. So are you comfortable with me giving you control and we'll walk through it together?
I will start, yes, and do my very best.
Okay, that's okay. Let's see. Let's give me a keyboard and mouse to you. Just a moment.
Actually, Chris just volunteered and said he wants to do it.
Chris, you want to do it? Oh, okay. Are you joking or are you being serious?
I'm serious. He said he would do it. Yeah, he said he would do it.
Okay, Chris. Way to go. Okay. So
Okay.
Chris is volunteering. Here you go. You should have keyboard and mouse.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to create out here. We're actually going to go through and we're going to create a semi-monthly. So let's hit cancel here. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to hit our little we don't need to create another schedule in here. We only need to put another batch out here on our calendar schedule. All right. So remember, we're just going to add a batch now. Exactly. So we're going to go into the details, and here we're going to add a batch. Now, semi-monthlies require 2 batches, so let's go ahead and add the first one, and I'll kind of just direct you here. Let's call the first one S. There you go.
Done these 100 times.
Right, so you're putting it to first day, which is good. Now you notice that when you added that, when you're adding this here, Chris, you notice that the starting date is actually today's day, 4/4, over here on the right-hand side.
Oh,
of the
yeah.
starting.
Did you put that like 3/31? Is that okay? Did you
Yeah,
always
that's
put
fine.
the month before? Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sometimes when I don't put the month before, like it doesn't come out right. It just doesn't.
Yep.
So like put in the first 2 check dates or something.
You are correct. You have to generally put a little bit back a little bit to get it to work correctly building going forward.
Okay.
Okay, so you have your first one in there. We'll go add your second one.
Oh, I don't know why I call that first one. It's in 1 or 2. Another one.
You're just whipping through this, Chris.
Huh? What'd you say?
I said you're just whipping through it.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, that's it.
So we're good. We've got our, this is your first, you're actually doing did you change it?
I don't know what I did. I put SM1 for the second
That's
one.
fine.
It should have been the first one.
Yeah, we kind of understand what you're doing here. So we've got the 16th in the last, so that is actually our second, right?
Yep.
And that, our first one, okay, and we've got them starting 3/31. That's fine. That's fine.
Don't ask me why I did that.
There you go. So it doesn't confuse the client. Okay, so now let's look at our checks. We don't have a group assigned to either one of those batches, correct?
Correct.
So we're going to have to go out to our payroll groups, which you can go up to your calendar up there, your calendar scheduler. And yep, that's fine. And we're going to click on our payroll group tab at the top, and we'll go ahead and add 2 more. We're going to go out here because now we're going to have a weekly, right? So up at the very top, yep, let's add W for weekly, and we'll add an S or SM for semi-monthly. All right, and so here we're going to put our filter in. Typically, you'll have one you can copy from another company, so you can just copy it over, but I'm going to tell you what it is, okay?
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, it is eInfo, so eInfo dot employee status, and then it's equal, and then it's a single quote, A, single quote, and then pay frequency.
As one word or two separate?
It's one word.
Oh.
And equal again, and then your single quote, and this will be W, single quote.
Okay.
Okay, and then just F11 it. And now you can take and on your semi-monthly, just copy that. And then just change your W to an S.
Sorry.
Okay. Okay, now we have to assign employees to this S frequency, correct?
Uh-huh.
So let's go out to our employees. And let's skip our first couple. Let's just pick like the last 3 or 4 and assign them.
And see, we do that under
Rates and reviews.
Oh, yeah. This is something I haven't done before. Okay.
Yeah, we're going to change their pay frequency here. Down at the bottom. Right next, yep, right there. We're going to change it to the S. I would caution you, be very careful when you're updating. That's all you have to do there is change that and then go to your next employee. To make sure that you'll have clients out here who have a lot of different frequencies because of things they're doing with accruals and different deductions. So just be very careful and make sure you select the right one and you don't mess up some things, because if you select the wrong one, the system's going to look at that to base their tax frequency off of.
Okay.
Okay, so you've got these 3 that are semi-monthly. All the rest are weekly, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, let's go back out to our calendar then.
Oh, they got a bi-weekly in here. Is that okay?
I'll change it.
Change it?
Yeah. You can make it an S, or I don't care. Make it an S or a W, whatever you prefer to do.
I'll put that in this.
Okay, so do you have some weeklies as well? Let's look.
There's one.
Why don't you put a couple more to weekly? Let's leave a couple. Yeah, let's do a couple more.
I change them to semi-monthly?
No, they can go weekly. They can just stay weekly.
Oh, we got 1, 2, 3,
That's
4.
fine. Okay, that's perfect. Let's go back to our calendar schedule then. And let's take a look at our details. And now let's look at our checks. There you go. And let's assign them to the group they belong to. So they belong to semi-monthly, right? Okay. And let's go to the other one. Okay. Now let's go back to our calendar schedule again, to our payroll groups. And let's click on us. Yep, and let's reapply our filters.
Oh, okay.
And then let's go to our weekly and reapply it.
Okay.
And that looks right.
Oh, yeah.
Now you'll see if you go out to one of those employees, click on one of those employees for me over to your left. Just click on Stacy.
Oh,
Or any of them down there, that's fine. Let's go to their status and position tab. And now you'll see that they've got their filter on them. They've got their group assigned to them under the payroll group.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know that.
Now, when a new employee is added, based on what the frequency is assigned to them, their pay frequency, they will automatically be put to that payroll group.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now, what makes this nice is then when we go build this payroll and we go into our certain check dates, we'll see that only those employees who belong in that batch will be in that batch. You'll be able to do a filter by batch employees, and then you'll just see those employees.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go back to our calendar. Let's see if we're all ready to rebuild it. All right, so we've got our start date at 2/1. That's fine. We've got our employees assigned, the payroll groups assigned to the checks. 3/31. It looks good. All right, well, let's rebuild it. Okay. Let's go to the job queue. Let's go to the job queue for a second and look at that.
Is that 774?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, it's that company, and it's just telling us the same ones that are in a scheduled state again.
Okay.
All right, let's go to our calendar. Let's take a look at it. Okay, so we built in February, or I'm sorry, in April, right? Let's go to April. So we've got our 4-4 check date. Let's take a look at our 4-4. That's fine. Let's see 4-11. That's fine. So it started building your semi-monthly in May, right?
No, it's in April. It started.
Where's our April? Where's our first one at?
There.
April 1st.
April 1st.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And
then our next one should be the 15th, right? Or the 18th.
The 30th. So what did I do here?
It just missed it. It missed it probably from selecting 331.
No, I didn't do it in May either. Yeah. No, it's in the weekly, but not the semi-monthly. Did I do the first and the last day? I don't know what I did. I thought I did the 15th and the last day.
Let's go look at it. Let's go see.
So you're just losing it?
Yep. Okay, so we've got our first one.
Oh, I did do the first. My fault.
That's okay. Change it. That's all you have to do. All right, so now it's the 15th. Yep. Go ahead and rebuild it. And now let's go take a look at it. And now you got your 15th out there. There you go. And can you click on the 18th for me for a second?
Yep.
Everybody remember that we had a VM batch out here? You see that it totally wiped that batch out. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for your help. I appreciate it. Nice job.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions? Does anybody have any questions regarding what we covered here today with the wizard and with the adding them manually? I'm going to pull up my presentation here for a minute. How many individuals, I have a trivia question or a question for you guys, I guess I should say today. How many individuals on this call remember when our colors used to be the red and gold? This right here. There's a red and gold color that we used to have. Okay, one of the things I just want to end with a little bit of information on where you can find a resource for helping you with calendar schedules and payroll groups. And that is available on our web help task sheet. So if you go to the task sheet area and select Millennium, you will find the schedules and payroll groups out there. And I do want to talk a few minutes on creating a quarterly schedule. I did give you a screenshot in here. This is something that has come up on MPAY side. It came up a while back when we started billing our clients for 0 payrolls. And what I mean by that is when a client wasn't going to process a check date, we implemented a process where, well, we've always run these zeros every single day because you need to make sure you capture tax deposits if they're out there. We started telling our clients that we're now going to charge you for those. So if you are not running your payrolls frequently, one of the things that we recommend to do is set up a quarterly calendar. So a lot of them start, especially your seasonal or your landscapers or people who maybe have a weekly but they don't always pay that week, they would set up quarterly calendars. And then if they needed a check date outside of that, we could always add it for them manually. But I did want to share that with everybody because it is something that we use frequently here at MPAY. And I thought it might be helpful if you do, that you definitely can build a quarterly calendar that will fall on we chose like last Friday of the last month of the quarter. So just a little side note information for you. Any questions about today's training? Anything that I can answer before we end it? Okay, well, if there aren't any questions, I do want to leave you with a quote, a final thought that tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn. And that's one of the things that we're really focusing on here is trying to make our trainings a lot more interactive so that we involve you so that it's easier for you to learn. So I hope everybody has a great weekend. I hope that you have a nice sunshine, warm weather. I'm sure we're all ready for that. We're all done with winter, at least here in Illinois and I'm sure in Maryland. Thanks for joining me today. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Alice.